Hello runners, and welcome to another week of the Coastal 5 training running tips from Mark and Sue from World Multisport and Coastal 5. So today we're talking about how to enjoy running and how to become a long-term runner, because you enjoy running so much.
Oh, I love running. I'm a running tragic. I mean, we're up to year 31 or year 32 for me, so I love it. Yep. And I hope to run till they put me in a box.
Okay, so I mean, we've got people like you out there who have always run, who just love running and can't get enough of it. And then I think you've got people like me who enjoy finishing their run or enjoy the endorphins and the feelings that I get when I have finished my run. But I don't know if I love the act of it so much. Sorry.
We've got a crazy cat and a 5-year-old. So I'm really... The cat has scratched our 5-year-old and he's crying. Sorry about that. We're just putting the cat outside. So it's hard to keep going. I'm distracted by Max and the cat. Anyway, yes, you were saying, Suze, that we've got runners like you that like the benefits of running, but probably are not a tragic like me. And that, that's the health benefits of, keeping your weight down and the fact that it's good for you and that type of stuff. So, you don't necessarily love running like I do, but you like the benefits of running.
Yeah, and I think it's also, I don't like the feeling when I don't run or I don't exercise. Like you notice when you're not doing something, how it affects you, I think, mentally as well as physically. You start just feeling a bit yuck. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So
that's why it's so important to be a long-term runner and to have some kind of exercise and healthy habits in your lifestyle.
And, people like you and I have different reasons why we run. I run because I love it and I've always done it and I love the challenge of it and the different events and races and still like to see if I can run well, whereas you do it more for the health benefits, not so much the competitive benefits.
Yeah, well, I compete against myself, but yes, I think in a nutshell that's probably quite accurate.
And that's fine. The thing is we all have a different reason, but it's about doing it long term. We want, as part of our event at Coastal 5, there's going to be a lot of people doing their first competitive event. We want them to enjoy it and we want them to continue running after that, to do other events and realise the great benefits of running. So that's why we're talking about tonight is how to enjoy running and how to be a long-term runner.
So regardless of your reasons, we've got some tips.
Yes, we
do.
Yep.
So why don't you share our first one?
Sure. The first one is that most of your running, so about 80% of your running, should be easy. Easy is where you're running along and you can have a conversation with someone. And it's a pretty easy pace to actually have a conversation. So you can talk in sentences, not in 2 to 3 words. And if you're running on your own, another way to do it is can you breathe comfortably just through your nose? So you're controlling that intensity. Where a lot of people make the mistake is they do all of their running too hard, and so they finish a run and they're completely exhausted. Most of your running, you should finish a run and feel like you could do more easily. And when you do that, you actually improve, but you really enjoy the running because you take away that, the running is just so hard all the time. And when people run too hard all the time, they don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for the majority of people, a hard run is not going to be enjoyable. I mean, some people get a kick out of it, but for most people, they're not going to enjoy that feeling until they're finished and gone, that was a hard session. So if your runs are easy, they're going to be more enjoyable. So try slowing down.
That's right, and forget about pace. Run by feel and, you maybe use heart rate. Don't use pace to guide your easy runs. So if you're running 5 times a week, 4 of them should be easy.
Okay.
Yeah. So about 80% of your total runs should be easy. And if you do that, you'll enjoy running and you will get better. So it's run slow to get fast is the basic principle.
Okay. So what's our tip number 2?
Tip number 2 is be patient. Be patient because the best results come from consistent training, over weeks and months and then eventually years. So if you want short-term results, especially if you're starting out or even if you've been going for a few years, continue to be patient. If you rush the process, that's when it's likely to get injured. You don't enjoy it as much. So it's a really good test of someone's patience, especially if you're new to running and you're running, say, at a particular heart rate. Well, that might be walking to start with, but then the walk will become a jog, or the jog will become a run. And so where people go wrong is they get impatient and they say, well, I don't want to walk, I don't want to jog, I want to run. But then they run too hard too often and they get injured and they don't enjoy it.
And I think that's partly about being realistic with your expectations. So I've worked with people before, and maybe they've just started running and they start talking to their friends, and their friends are all trying to do something, be positive and be encouraging, and they're saying, oh, you could do this, or you could do a half marathon or something. And I think it's about being realistic and being like, well, no, my goal is to start off doing a 5K or doing a 10K or doing a 10K better. So it's about being realistic, and part of that is being patient. And maybe sometimes it's not listening to all the friendly encouragement telling you to keep going further and faster, but holding back a little and enjoy what you're doing and celebrate your little goals.
Yeah, and that might be just doing your first 5K, and then your first 10K and your first half marathon and so on and so on. But don't rush it.
Yeah.
There's no, this is about long-term running, so you don't have to do everything in the first 12 months.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got a long time, hopefully, left in this world, so we need to still leave ourselves some little challenges to do. So we don't want to do everything in that first 12 months of running, or even if you've been running for a few years. So leave yourself some goals to set and, down the track.
That's right. Yep. So that's the second one. The third one is don't compare yourself to anyone else. Comparison is the thief of joy, and a lot of people will compare, especially friends, training partners, etc. It's natural to compare yourself to others, but you should be just comparing yourself to who you were. The only person you compare yourself is yourself previously. I had this conversation with one of our athletes a while back, and she has made so much improvement. She's just come so far, but then so is everyone else that she's training with. So they're getting faster and she's getting faster, but she's comparing herself to those people rather than who she was when she started. And you lose a little bit of perspective as you say, well, wow, I've actually come a long way. I'm running a lot faster, I'm running a lot further, I'm a lot fitter, I'm lost weight, but I'm still behind everyone else. Well, that's because they've improved as well. So it's, don't compare yourself to anyone else. This is a very personal journey, and it's an individual journey.
And we see that a lot, don't we, with the athletes that we work with, is such a common thing for people to be looking at what someone else is doing, and you also don't know what's behind that. So you don't know what they're having to deal with in terms of, family, work, life. It might be a whole lot easier than what you're dealing with. We all do the best that we can, and definitely just compare yourself to who you were yesterday, because it's the only thing that counts at the end of the day. That's
right, and even more so when you do a race. If you're training for an event like the Coastal 5, and you want to do your best, not someone else's best. And if you beat someone else, great. If they beat you, doesn't really matter. It's really, as long as you've done your best, and deep inside you'll know if you've done your best.
Yeah. And on that comparison as well, I think also don't compare yourself to who you were 5 years ago. Because I can attest to this, because life changes for everyone, and especially once we get around that kind of 40-ish age group, we're not in our 20s anymore. You might have had kids if you're a female and have a family, or you might have, a lot more demands on your job. And if I compared myself to where I was 10 years ago, I would never be happy. I would not enjoy running. I wouldn't enjoy doing any type of exercise, because I'd be like, 10 years ago, I could go so much faster. So compare yourself to yesterday, no one else, and also not yourself 10 years ago, even 5.
And look, I'm the same. My best running years were when I was mid-30s, and I was still running well into my early 40s, but I'm 50 now, and it's really just about maintaining and continuing to be the best runner I can be now, not where I was, when I was running at my best.
Yeah, at some point we're going to go over the hill.
We are.
We are. You can't keep going up all the time.
Yeah, I'm probably well down the other side.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. So what have we got next?
The next one is don't focus too much on the numbers. Everything can measure. We can measure our pace, our elevation, our distance. We can measure everything.
It's a little bit insane how much you can measure.
It is crazy.
We were looking at smartwatches the other day, and it's crazy how much you can just measure on there. It can even tell you how much you can sleep. It can tell you about your periods. It can tell you everything.
I know.
So yeah, it can really take the joy out of just something so pure and simple as running.
So it is important. The numbers are good because they can help you gauge improvement. The things like the smartwatches are fantastic in that way because they can say, "Wow, look how much you're improving. Your pace is getting faster, and your fitness age, and all that stuff." That's great, but you can become a little bit paralysis by analysis. And if you're constantly running and looking at your watch and going, "Oh wow," well then you're just not getting what the run's meant to be about.
And there's so much that can change your number. That can be, the terrain, the weather. Just how much sleep you've had, the time of the month, so much stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the numbers are part of it, but really only a small part, to be honest. Yeah, don't focus too much on the numbers. And then the last one, which I think is probably the most important if you want to enjoy running and run long term, is find a training group. Be part of a club, a squad, friends, whatever, and create social connections. That is what will keep you running.
And for me, as we started this video with describing our different personas when it comes to running. So you just love running for the act of it. I love running for the benefits. And for me, this is a big one because that's what makes me enjoy running, is having other people to run with, having some training buddies.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy going out for a run, enjoy the act of it if I've got someone to run with, as opposed to doing it by myself. So if you can find a training group, highly recommend you join one, or even just if you can rope a friend in, but sometimes it can be hard to find the right friend who's going to be running at the pace that you want to be running at.
Yeah, and we've been in New Plymouth now since December, and you've found a new running buddy recently. COVID.
And then COVID hit, and COVID hit. People one run together.
And I've always had some of my best experiences with my running mates from back in Australia. Had some amazing experiences that I'll forever remember, that were just magnificent. And if you can just find that group, because as humans we love to connect, and when you can share experiences, things like running and long runs especially break down barriers. You get to know people a lot easier, and those natural walls that exist come down. So I think, training groups, friends, pretty much any town will have some type of club. Hash House Harriers or run shops have groups. Just get involved, meet people, and you'll keep going. That I think is probably, of everything we've spoken about, that would be the number one thing that I would recommend, is get part of a training group.
Yes, I do too. Now, I did mean to say at the start of this video that if you guys ever have any questions that you want to ask about your training for the Coastal 5, throw them up at any time during the video. Mark and I will ask them at the end. So if you've got something to ask now, throw it up. Or if you want to ask something next week, just at any time. We'd love to hear how your training's going. If you've got any specific questions, we'll answer them at the end of our lives. So I think that's about it.
So we've got Linda's just... Totally agree with your philosophy. As an older runner, I'm not going to get faster, but I can try to be consistent. I belong to a Harriers group. It's the best thing. Absolutely, Linda. The Harriers are a worldwide. Everyone has a Harriers group in their town, and they're just all types of people, and it's that friendship. You can go on a run with the training group after work, and any problems you had at work will just suddenly disappear, and you feel so much better when you've done the run, or if you're getting up early. It's a great way to start the day.
It's a whole lot easier to get up early when you're meeting someone than to go out by yourself. And so I met my new running friend at 5:30, and I haven't managed to get up that early for a run.
And it was raining.
And it was raining, yes.
Yeah, you would never do that on your own, would you? Also, we should say, just with the whole COVID thing, we said this in a video a couple of weeks ago, we're 11 weeks out from the Coastal 5. Our intention is that everything is going to go ahead as normal. We think that within 11 weeks we should be at a stage where events will be running as normal. However, if not, as previously mentioned, we have spoken with the council, who have been so supportive of our event, that it will be rescheduled. But at this stage, everything is as normal. and yeah, we'll continue on, and hopefully that we'll have a great event and no lockdowns and no COVID, and everyone, if you're not from New Plymouth, you'll be able to come and visit and have a great time.
That's right.
Mm.
All right. Well, happy training this week. Happy
Happy Father's Day too.
Oh, happy
Happy Father's Day to all the dads.
All right, and we'll catch you next week. Have a great week of running.
All right. Likewise. See ya.